All right, eyes open, California here. I'm just gonna keep marathoning these dreams out just in case, because we all know it's almost go time. So this one is gonna be earthquakes. I've had many dreams about earthquakes. Um, I've lived through earthquakes. It's what it is. It's California. You got to deal with it. So, without any further ado, here's my dreams. Okay, so I have a list right here. One, two, three, four. Four earthquake dreams that I'm going to be referring to. That's just to keep me on target. So, okay, the first one. I had a dream that there was an earthquake. This earthquake happened, and it was a pretty good sized one, but it wasn't a monster. And it was, if I had to say its magnitude, it was somewhere between a 6 and a 7. It was enough to get all kinds of government resources over to the Bay Area. I remember that distinctly in my dream. I remember seeing all the Caltrans people heading over to the Bay Area, which San Francisco is like 90 miles west. So everybody from this Central Valley area starts sending all kinds of forces over to the Bay Area to assist them with road damage and road closures and what have you. So a few days later is the monster earthquake. A few days later, there's an earthquake that's so massive that I can't even put it into words because the Bay Area is 90 miles away. At the time that I had this dream, I was in Modesto. So it's 90 miles away and it hits Modesto super hard. But the epicenter was in the Bay Area. And I don't know if the epicenter was San Francisco or I don't know if the epicenter was San Jose. But they get just annihilated, completely and utterly annihilated. And in my dream, parts of West Bay, the West Bay Peninsula, the San Francisco Peninsula, parts of it fell into the water. That wave hit the East Bay, and part of the East Bay, like the Oakland shoreline and what have you, it went in the water. So, bottom line is, that dream, there was 2 earthquakes. First one gets all kinds of forces over there. The second one just buries them in the ocean. Okay, so that's one dream. As far as time goes, I couldn't quantify the time because I was just merely an observer in that dream. I wasn't in it. I wasn't wearing any clothes to kind of dial me in as to what season it was or anything. So there's one. Okay, the next earthquake dream, I'm in a building, and this building is on the inside of this building, for whatever reason, it was like a mall. It was multi-story, and then as you start going up to the top, it had like residential apartments of some sort. And in my dream, I was walking around this, and I seen Tom Hanks, of all people. Now, I like Tom Hanks as an actor. I like his movies. I don't know why Tom Hanks was in my dream, but the guy that was next to me was acting like a like a mega fan. Tom Hanks, he's going bananas. And then I'm just looking at him like, this guy. So then Tom Hanks looks at me and gives me so I gave him and that was that. Tom Hanks was in my dream. So anyways, the rest of my family is hanging out, and then my brother, my older brother, this is the second dream that, I've only had 2 dreams of my older brother. I've already told you about one before in a previous video, and this is the other one. So we go up on top of this building, and on top of this building, there was like I don't know what it was, like a half moon. I don't know what it was, and it was like a slide, you see at a playground. And you see the kids they climb up to slide the opposite way just to be little whats. Well, so when kids are going down, you go up there and you just mess with anyways. So in my dream, my brother and I are climbing up this big giant slide that's a half circle, and when we get to the top, there's a room. And when we get up there, he and I are the only ones up there because nobody else could make it, I guess. So immediately, I look out the right window. Keep the camera right there. Just keep it. I'm going to pull something. I look out the right window, and I see that as high up as I am, I'm almost even with the top of a hill. And then I also notice that the building that I'm at, it has a horseshoe-shaped hill around it. So imagine a horseshoe-shaped hill with the building sitting right there. And as I look out the front, I look and I see a city on the other side of the water. And there's an island right here. And I see the city, and I look, and I see buildings just falling. And I look, and because I mean, it's a pretty good stretch, and I'm looking, I'm like, those buildings are falling. And I'm like, what am I looking at right now? And then as soon as all the buildings fell into the water, there was a big giant wave, and the wave came to the base of the building that I was in, and I could see it making that horseshoe shape, and then the rest of the wave comes. So I actually went on Google Maps, and well, let me just say this. So my daughter had a track meet in San Francisco, a cross-country meet. So we go to San Francisco, we do the cross-country meet. On the way back over the Bay Bridge, I look off to my left, and I see what looks like a building with a horseshoe-shaped hill around it. So I get home, and that detail bothered me. So a few days later, I go on Google Earth, and I literally found that hill. It's in Berkeley. It's right next to the highway, right as you enter into Berkeley. There's actually 3 buildings, 3 big, giant, humongous buildings surrounded by a horseshoe-shaped hill. And I put the little green man from Google on the street right there, and I aimed him towards San Francisco, which was across the bay, which from there would have been completely due west. And sure enough, from that vantage point, you cannot see the Bay Bridge because the island's there, and then the other span you can't see because it's blocked, just like it was in my dream. So, I don't know. That's that. But here's the weird part. Like about a month later, my daughter draws something, and this is what she drew just randomly. And this is exactly what I saw after the earthquake hit. As I panned my head to the right, I was looking at this. This is what was left. So, there's that. Okay, so that's dream number 2. Okay, dream number 3 about earthquakes. All right. So, dream number 3. I'm walking in San Francisco with my best friend Aaron, and we're somewhere down by the piers. Anybody probably heard Pier 39. It's a place where people go and just spend the whole day out there at the pier, just hanging out, whatever. So in my dream, he and I are there in San Francisco, and he wants to go to some kind of a market. There's some kind of little open air market. He wants to go check it out, and it's down by the water. And he was like, "Hey, let's go check it out." And I was like, "Nah, I'm cool. I don't need nothing from that place." He's like, "All right, I'll be right back." And as soon as he goes down into that market, there's a big giant earthquake that happens, and that land mass that he was on, where that market was, it just fell into the water. It just flat out broke off and fell in the water. So I went running over there and tried to put my hand in the water, and then he comes walking up, and I pull him, and he comes out, and he was just like, "Wow." And that's that dream. Landmass breaks off and falls in the water. I don't really have any other details about it other than in my dream it was sunny. San Francisco, if you've never been there, it's really cold, it's really foggy, and it's only warm every now and again if you get lucky. So if you see any pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge from far away, that was a lucky day because San Francisco is cold and foggy. So that's the 3rd dream. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the 4th dream, liquefaction. Okay, so in my 4th dream, I'm in San Francisco, and I'm walking on a street. I don't know what street, but I'm walking on this street, and there's an earthquake, and then next thing you know, I'm 50 feet underwater, looking up at the sun. So like just like this little lamp is right here, you're gonna point that thing up there at the lamp. The designer lamp, yeah, from the Renaissance age over here. So, so I'm 50 feet underwater, and I'm looking up, and I can see the sun, and I can see that there's big chunks of building falling over. I can see them falling. They hit the water, and they start coming down in chunks. So as I'm trying to swim to the top of the surface, I'm dodging big pieces of skyscraper. And if you've ever went swimming with boots on, it sucks. So here I am trying to swim up with fully clothed, and my freaking boots, basically what I'm saying is I am not doing the most in this dream swimming. So I'm trying, and right before I get to the top, I woke up because I must have been holding my breath. I woke up just gasping for air, because if I would have stayed in that dream any longer, I probably would have been killed. So anyways, that's my earthquake dreams. So that's 4 of them. I've had a bunch of them, but those are the biggest 4. So here's the takeaways. The biggest takeaway is I believe San Francisco is going to suffer from liquefaction, which means the subbase is going to get bay water in it. And when the earthquake happens, it's just going to drop. It's just going to drop. The buildings are just going to drop straight down. Some of the buildings are going to go over sideways, but a lot of them are just going to drop straight through the soil, because what they're built on is man-made. That end is on a man-made peninsula. Why they put that much weight on it, I don't know. So that's what's going to happen. And that tsunami that comes, that horseshoe-shaped hill is actually a park, and I forget what the name of it is, but it's got 3 buildings right there, and it's horseshoe-shaped, and that vantage point is exactly what I was looking at. So something's going to happen when all that mass of solid objects falls into the Bay Area. Everybody who paid attention to science knows that it's displacement. It's going to displace an equal volume of water. Or is that for floating objects? I don't know. Whatever. So when that water gets displaced, I believe that water is going to go through the North Bay, and then it's going to go through the Delta, and that water is going to reverse flow, and it's going to flood the Central Valley from Stockton. I had a dream that the Central Valley was flooding, and I was standing on the freeway, and water was coming from the north. And water was coming, and it wasn't like a freaking 1 mile high tsunami coming. I mean, it was just a steady amount of water, maybe about that high at first, but then it just kept coming, and it kept coming, and didn't stop. And the valley flooded, and I would say the flood waters were anywhere from like 10 to 30 feet. It was just enough to ruin your day. It wasn't, and then after that water flooded in, then it goes back out. And it left about that much water everywhere. Everybody's house was ruined. And the one thing I remember about that dream was the mosquitoes. In my dream, there were starting to become a lot of mosquitoes. And in case you guys don't know, mosquitoes are the most dangerous animal on earth, statistically. So I believe if anybody has had any dream about the Central Valley of California flooding, it has to do, in my opinion, based on the dreams that I've had, it has to do with an earthquake. Now, when I say earthquake, I'm not saying this earthquake was made naturally by Earth. I'm not saying this earthquake was made by some type of military weapon. I don't know what causes this earthquake. I don't know what causes that second humongous earthquake. I don't know what it is. But something causes it. And that earthquake makes buildings in San Francisco fall down, and it floods the valley from the Stockton Delta. So that's all I got on earthquake.